jump into Boom Bam Summerslam. You said you did not get a chance to watch it, but I'm sure you saw all the GIFs and
saw the GIFs. I got the details. But just break it down real quick. Tell me what happened.
Yeah, so I'm going to just give you the quick reading of the results. So we had Bianca Belair, who was curtain jerk. She went over on Becky Lynch in 15 minutes, 10 seconds. What was notable about this was after the match, Becky had a little bit of a babyface turn. And then we had the return Bayley, who came out with Io Sky and Dakota Kai. So Bayley is now the leader of basically a black and gold NXT women's group. And they were going to stand against Bianca, but then Becky stood with Bianca. So it was good. But the crowd really ate that one up. And that was basically Triple H saying, I'm here and we're booking this show. Then we had WrestleMania. The WrestleMania tradition continue as celebrities doing their best to steal the show, as Logan Paul went over on The Miz. And Logan Paul, I was like, oh man, they better give him somebody so people don't start booing him, right? Because celebrities usually get booed, especially Logan Paul. And man, he crushed it. This guy is like a natural athlete. He was doing 5-star frog splash from the ring to the table and cleared it easy, like Montez Ford height on there. So he is just natural for this business. Bobby Lashley went over on Theory. That was a pretty quick match. You had the Mysterios went over on the Judgment Day. That wasn't did Edge come back that night?
I think he came out in some sort of costume.
They were doing the vignettes of like, I'm coming, and everyone's like, oh, is this Bray Wyatt? Is this Bray Wyatt? And it was not Bray Wyatt. It was Edge. He basically came back in his the Brood form. So Pat McAfee went over on Happy Corbin. Pat McAfee was a little bit too excited, so he almost had a couple near botches, but Pat McAfee is Pat McAfee, and everybody loves him. The best part about Pat McAfee is he can do a botch, and it's okay, because he's Pat McAfee. He's going to come out there in his combat boots and his tank top and still put on a good show. Which, here was a fun fact I did not know. Did you know Happy Corbin and Pat McAfee were roommates when their rookie year in the NFL?
I didn't know they were roommates. I did see the photo of them side by side in their uniforms,
and they had that weird like, even though we're older, we look younger now phase. So that was good. Usos went over on the Street Profits in a solid match. The only one that was a little bit weird is under 5 minutes. Liv Morgan went over on Ronda Rousey on a weird type of finish where Ronda was basically beating her pretty good, and she went for one of her arm bars, but Liv kind of leaned into it, and Ronda lost track of where she was, and she got counted down. So they made it look like a little bit of a shoot and made Ronda look strong, but Liv still went over. It would have been good to see her get some offense, but the crowd was really confused about that one. And then you had Tractor Mania. Roman Reigns beat Brock Lesnar after Brock Lesnar lifted the ring with a tractor. Dude,
I wish I would have seen that. I was going to go back and watch it. Where does the tractor come into? Why was there a tractor?
Because remember now, he's Cowboy Brock Lesnar, right? And he called Roman Reigns a hog. And he's like, and you know what I do with hogs on my farm? I slaughter them. Which, shout out to Brock Lesnar Bearded Butcher Blend, that great spice. But enjoy
it by the spoonful.
Yes, by the spoonful. But he butchers his own animals, and he's like, I'm a farm boy, and I'm going to butcher Roman. So he came out of the ring in a tractor, and he stood on top of the tractor. Then he dove off the tractor, and he threw a mic at Roman, and Roman caught it, like gave a no-look catch. I mean, this match has happened so many times, and everyone's like, I cannot believe this is the main event again. And this was the best match Brock and Roman ever had, because it felt more like a shoot spectacle than anything.
Shoot spectacles are good.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I didn't watch it. I'd like to go back and revisit it. I mean, you've sold me on it.
Yeah, go back and watch. Even if you just watched the Brock and Roman match, that match was unreal. And at the end of that match, Brock kind of hinted that he was going to retire. Like, he went in the ring and he got his hat, and the ring was kind of, and he did like the bow, and I was thinking, wow, it's been 20 years. That was Brock Lesnar won the title in 2002 against The Rock. It's been 20 years he's been at the top. So wow. he might be taking a break. So in theory, try to cash in, but Theory's in a weird spot. Like Roman started this chant, your daddy's not here anymore to protect you. So he's in a very interesting spot that I think they need to let him keep that belt and still kind of weaseling his way through the card. But bell to bell, it was one of the few WWE streaming live events.
Silver streams.
Yeah, they don't call them pay-per-views anymore. That I was
premium live events.
Yes. I was entertained the entire time. I didn't struggle. Even the ones that were not great, because you were a little bit confused, but the work rate was there, and this was Triple H's takeover show. Now, granted, everyone expected Raw the next day to kind of happen, and it still felt a little bit like Raw. It feels a little bit different, and they're establishing stars, but he can't do it overnight. But this was he got Double J in there as a special guest referee in Nashville, who also did a great job. He's putting his stamp on it. He had the U.S. title belt. We talked about how to build that back up, and he actually used a video that showed historical footage that they own to show how important this belt is. So I think he's off to a good start. Like BZ was saying, hopefully something doesn't come out and derail this, but so far, so good for the Triple H generation.
I watched some of Raw. It definitely feels different. I don't know if it's just me projecting into it or wanting it to be better, but it feels a little less scripted all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Just the general vibe of it.
And that's what we need. We need a little less scripting. I understand you have to have time cues, but you don't have to have so much scripting. AEW gets a lot of hell, but maybe the matches are memorized, and there's maybe some spot fest that could be fixed, but it doesn't feel like they're playing characters. They're closer to being who they really are than a lot of the characters in WWE, and we need more of that. That's why Cody is working so well. This is Cody Rhodes in WWE who didn't get what he wanted from AEW, and he came over, and he's still the same guy. He's not playing a character. CM Punk is not playing a character. Bryan Danielson is not playing a character. We don't need more characters. We need people to go out there and take some chances. And Roman is doing his best work ever because he's no longer just playing a Roman Reigns who Vince wants to be on the top. He's the head of the table. Yeah, JJ said Triple H about to bring back the skulls from NXT. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of headbangers ball with Triple H running the show.
He walked right into the recording studio where they make the music, and it's like, okay, I need 30 more heavy metal intros.
Speaking of heavy metal, Ciampa had a pretty prominent role in SummerSlam where he didn't have a match, but he was out there with Logan Paul, and then he did a spot with AJ Styles setting up for the next night, and Ciampa went over twice on top guys to now be the number one contender for the U.S. title, and that's a big tell for the Triple H generation. I was texting with Mike on SummerSlam night, and he's like, "We got to get Johnny Gargano. We got to get Gargano in there." He kept thinking Gargano because again, that's another Triple H guy, and I don't know if that's going to happen, but now it can happen. A lot of these people who left may come back because of Triple H being in charge.
Yep.
And
it's huge, man. It's huge.
Do you realize we're closer now than ever that someday there could be an AEW WWE Forbidden Door crossover because Triple H would do what's best for business. Vince would never have done it.
And there will be. And I think that maybe there's going to be a little more openness to... I mean, when people leave a brand and go to another and come back, it's good for the brand when they come back. So opening up the possibility of letting folks go work somewhere else for a while is going to be big.
That's never been a bad thing. Like everybody who went to ECW to ply their trade and to hone their craft, we're better off for it. Now, Vince was letting people go for the wrong reasons, but there a little bit of Jericho found that career resurgence, and he was doing some of his best work. Remember the list? Remember how over the list was?
I remember the list.
The
Yeah.
list was over. And then he realized, you know what? I want to get back into like the wrestling portion of it. And then he goes to Japan, right, and does his match at the Egg Dome with Kenny. And next thing you know, we have the Painmaker. And next thing you know, he's showing up in AEW. And now he's a Tom Brady right now, where he's working with all these guys. It doesn't feel like he's overstayed his welcome, does it? Or am I missing something?
No, and he's in great shape, better
Yeah.
than he's been in the last like 10 years, probably. He looks awesome.
You know, he started wrestling 1 year before I did.
Really? Wow.
And that for me, that's like, wow, that's like really telling. Obviously, he did a lot more. But it's just to think that, wow, he started in 1990 when, you know, I was just texting with Wayne. Probably the worst time to break into the wrestling business were between 1990 and 94.
If you could go back in time and just tell yourself to do like a plumber gimmick.
Yeah. TL Hopper. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's going to be really, you know what's going to be an interesting pay-per-view that's really going to tell the tale is Survivor Series. Survivor Series needs to go back to all the special, that had a lot of special, that was one of the big four. And Triple H will respect, you know, Vince didn't respect like the age of his own company. He thought, I don't want it to sound old. Like he was not okay with his own age and he wasn't okay with his company. But respect that legacy of what you built it. It's yours. Well, maybe it's not yours anymore, but I mean, it couldn't have happened without you. So when Survivor Series happens, let's really see what happens. Because there's got to be a part of Triple H that's like, I'm in charge of creative. Let's go back and fix NXT.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine how over it's going to be when all of a sudden the tie-dye intro goes black and gold again? And you've got to do it.
You have to do it.
You have to, because it'll be so over and bring so many people back. It'll be huge. And just that's why I said this adds fuel to the fire of my conspiracy theory that Vince is you know, in a way just buried himself on the way out. So when Steph and Triple H took over, it'd get a huge pop.
Yeah, I think it really. And again, what BZ said, I hope they don't get any of the backlash. I don't know. How would you kind of feel like you would know what your dad was up to, right?
Maybe not, but
I mean, you can get it with the father-in-law. You can be like, yeah, I don't know what the hell that guy's doing. But with Steph, I mean, but then again, Vince is a pretty private guy. I mean, he worked around the clock. You just don't know what was happening in Stamford at, 11 p.m. when she was home with her 3 daughters. That maybe she didn't know what Vince was doing.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if it's really, really bad, we might have heard of it by now.
Yeah.
I think maybe it might be a bit of a Revenge of the Nerd situation where, yeah, maybe something that was socially acceptable 20 years ago
is not
anymore, didn't fly, or, times have changed and you can't just like sleep with somebody at the holiday party and then give them a job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
Whereas back in the day, that might have been somewhat acceptable. Just like, I don't know. It's hard. It'd be hard for me to believe, and maybe it'll be true, and I'll be wrong, that Vince is like I don't know. I just feel like he has a moral code somewhere under everything.
Somewhere, right? It's got to be in there. I was curious if it was going to affect the buy rates, the ratings, and the ticket sales of SummerSlam. And there were some pictures floating around where there was a big blocked off sections of seats that were just blacked out, and everyone's like, "Oh, see, the ticket sales are hurting." And Vince has always done that. Even on the downsides when they weren't selling those seats, he found a way to make this place look full. So that one didn't. I was just like, okay. And plus, everyone's still WWE sucked for so long.
Yeah, and people are wise to the fact that it's a huge venue like that.
Yeah,
the $125 seats are going to be terrible view. So it's like maybe people aren't willing to shell out the cash right now.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of other things going on. The only thing that was truly, truly tone deaf, and I understand why they did it, and I get it, was Kane coming out as the mayor of where he's. I don't know if wherever he's the mayor of. It's in Tennessee, and he announced the attendance for the night. But Kane just got a bunch of heat for his stance on the Roe versus Wade ruling, and he had a lot of females coming at him, and he got a lot of heat. So that would have been like, oh, I understand, because he's Kane. He's a WWE Hall of Famer. I would have maybe considered having him come out in his mask so people aren't reminded, like, wait, you're that scumbag politician that's telling me what to do with my uterus. You're not the devil's favorite demon.
Yeah.
You got to keep. It's tough to keep the politics out, though. But CM Punk had that great shirt when he had that political shirt that came out, and somebody said, "Keep your politics out of my wrestling," and he said, "As soon as you keep your politics out of my wife's vagina," and I was just like, "Oof." So I know it's going to naturally start to leak in, but that was actually the most cringeworthy moment of the night for me, because it's just coming off so fresh.
Yeah,
of that just happened on Twitter.
If they wouldn't have had him on, though, then it would have gone the other way, and there would have been another controversy.
Yeah, something else.
If they probably already booked them, they're just like, we'll just take the heat and move on.
What are your feelings on Ronda Rousey? I don't know, are you a pro, anti, or no opinion?
I would have liked to see her do well. I don't think she's been booked well since she's been back.
No.
Even on her first run, they're not sure what to do with her. They can't. She's coming in already as Ronda Rousey, and when you come in as a celebrity like that, you have to sort of escape your persona that already exists to become a wrestling character. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
they haven't been able to get her to do that, but I want to see her do well.
The problem is that she has such a presence, but on the mic, she's like a million miles an hour, and Brock had this problem in the beginning too. Brock was not that great in the mic. That's why you had Paul Heyman, and I know people. It was like cliche for a while. She'll be the female Brock Lesnar. Get her out there with a mouthpiece like Paul Heyman. But that's what they've done in wrestling since the beginning, right? They got rid of managers, and they needed to be bringing managers back. I would have had no problems having her come out here with the manager to handle, make sure when on the mic it sells the tickets, but B, you're going to learn, because Brock has had Paul Heyman this entire time, and he's getting better on the mic because he's had one of the best that ever held the mic being his manager for this time, right? You can't help but learn from it. So I think it's a win-win if they would have got Ronda that mouthpiece, but she's like literally trying to like wrangle lightning. I love watching her because everything about her feels like it's going to break into a real fight. And I got no problems with her matches. I noticed all of her finishes are coming some short and abrupt, but she comes from the UFC where the finishes are not only a shoot finish, but they're short and abrupt. So I was like, okay, I get it, right? When Becky pinned her, it was like out of nowhere and she was pissed. And this one, she started breaking, putting refs in arm bars because like, what the hell are you doing? Get your head out of your ass. So I like unhinged Ronda, but I just wish there was somebody there a Jim Cornette, Paul Heyman, somebody who's so good on the mic and then sells you on what a treat it is to have Ronda Rousey in here.
That's difficult, though. Don't you think that's a tough character to create? I feel like that's hard because she's a shoot fighter.
Yeah.
So who do you get in there that has the same kind of shoot credibility to speak for her?
It's tough.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a tough spot.
You know who would do well? He's in the wrong company though. Dan Lambert.
Dan Lambert would be great.
Yeah.
She should inquire about that because I think he'd come out and be great. But yeah, it's just one of those things, man. She came over from UFC. She didn't have a promo class at her gym. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not a natural skill.
No, it's not.
It's tough. It's like, and even if you're a celebrity, even if you're not a celebrity, folks sometimes think that speaking on camera is I'm cool, I'm comfortable. You know what I mean?
No.
I'm not self-conscious. It's different.
It is.
When the camera's on you and you're speaking into a microphone and you are the center of attention in that way. It's a skill you have to learn.
It is.
It's not natural.
A lot of people compared that wrestling, promo class to going out there and doing stand-up comedy.
100%. And like you're trying to control the crowd with your voice.
Yeah.
You go out there and you control them with your actions and your moves and your spots. But to come out there and say, hey, I have something to say. listen, and then also react appropriately to what I say. Okay, go 40,000 people.
And don't say a word. Don't mess this up for me.
Do not say what. And then they say what, and then you have to go. I mean, that would probably fry my brain. Can you imagine being under that kind of pressure?
Yeah. I take that as a tell. I watch to see how people react when the crowd turns on you and starts chanting what? Like, what do you do? Because the whole idea before it used to be...
It's like Pee Wee Herman. I know you are, but what am I? You know, you can't... There's no counter. There's zero counter to that.
No.
And, I mean, the only person... Like Jericho, man, is the only one who I've ever seen... Probably not the only one, but he... Just the way he controls the crowd is amazing.
Yeah.
And when you see him do, like, his Jericho cruise... And at one, I mean, there was one instance where the crowd was going to turn on him, and he felt it, and he just said, "Shut up, shut it," and like shut them down, man.